Hello, this is Alexandra Kitty, and this is Officer Down, a true crime podcast where we look at the victims who were in law enforcement. Today we're going to go to the UK, Manchester particularly, and we're going to look at what is known as the Hughes-Bone Tragedy. So these were two female officers in Manchester who were ruthlessly murdered in 2012. So this case is interesting in many regards, and there's quite a bit to digest here. So here we go. On the morning of September 8, 2012, two Greater Manchester police officers, PC Nicola Hughes, 23, and PC Fiona Bone, 32, were brutally murdered in a calculated ambush while responding to what they believed was a routine burglary call in Mottram, Greater Manchester, England. The incident marked the first time in British history that two female police officers were killed together in the line of duty. The murder sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom and beyond, exposing the deadly consequences of gang warfare and reigniting the national debate over whether British police officers should carry firearms. Prime Minister David Cameron called it a despicable act of pure evil, while Greater Manchester Chief Constable Sir Peter Fahey described it as cold-blooded murder. Now a little bit about the victims. PC Nicola Hughes was 23. She lived in Diggle, Oldham, with her mother, Susan. Born in 1988, she joined Greater Manchester Police in 2009, serving all 3 years of her brief career with the Tameside Division. Her mother says she died doing the job that she loved. Nicola grew up attending Saddleworth School in Uppermill, where she was remembered as a bright and caring student. From an early age, she demonstrated a strong desire to make a difference in people's lives, a quality that would ultimately lead to her policing. Her father, Bryn Hughes, recalled that once his daughter decided at age 19 to become a police officer, he knew she'd never change her mind. She was very determined about everything, he said. For her, there was no alternative. There was no detracting from it. Whatever she did, she was focused. Her colleagues described her as very bubbly, loved life and socializing. She was a chatterbox, and she was always smiling, even after a night shift when everyone else was a bit grumpy, they said. She was a good listener, and she couldn't do enough for people. She was a lovely friend and a great bobby. Her father remembered her really wicked sense of humor and how she always saw the fun side of life. Chief Constable Sir Peter Fahey paid tribute to her great sense of humor and huge amounts of energy and initiative, noting that despite her young years, she was incredibly mature. He added Nicola in her dedication and professionalism in the way she carried out her duties showed that policing is not about muscle, but is about reason, restraint, and intelligence. Nicola left behind her mother, Susan, her father, Bryn, her stepmother, Natalie, younger brother, Sam, and boyfriend, Gareth. Her family says she embraced everything she did throughout her life with total commitment and enthusiasm and touched the hearts of everyone she came in contact with. PC Bone was 32, and she had served with Greater Manchester Police for 5 years, starting out as a special constable before becoming a full-time officer. She lived in Sale, Greater Manchester, with her partner Claire and Claire's 5-year-old daughter Jessie. Fiona was born in Norwich, but later moved with her family to Moray, Scotland, where she attended Hopeman Primary School in Elgin, and then Lossiemouth High School. Her family returned to England before moving to the Isle of Man in 1997, where she enrolled in Castle Rushen High School, sixth form in September. After completing her A-levels in English, Computer Studies, and General Studies in July 1999, she attended the University of Central Lancashire in Preston, where she studied AV Media and Film Studies, graduating in 2002. Before joining the police, Fiona tried her hand at the film industry on the Isle of Man and worked at a call center in Manchester. Her father, Paul Bone, explained that she didn't like routine jobs, but she liked the variety of police life. She decided to train as a special constable and then went full-time, and her family supported her choice. Paul Bone described his daughter as active and mischievous, who was always on the go. She completed her Duke of Edinburgh's award, learned to shoot and fly, helped in an old age home, played ladies rugby for the Vagabond team on the Isle of Man and at university, and learned scuba diving before moving on to other challenges. But finding Claire and Jessie satisfied her needs. As Mr. Bone said, she really enjoyed helping people. At the time of her death, PC Bone was in the middle of planning her civil partnership ceremony to Claire. Just that morning, she had spoken with Claire about wedding invites and received advice from fellow officers on how to make them on the computer. Her friend Shannon Fisher from Port Elgin, Isle of Man, had planned to be her wedding photographer and received an email from Fiona asking if he was still able to do it just 2 days before her death. Her colleagues said she was an excellent Bobby and cared about her job and the community she served. Chief Constable Sir Peter Fahey described her as a calm, gentle woman. When she first joined the shift, she was quiet and reserved, he said. However, she came out of her shell and had a great sense of humor and always enjoyed a good laugh. Her fellow officers loved being partnered up with her because she was always calm, collected, and professional, and can diffuse situations with her calm, gentle way. Manx Home Affairs Minister Juan Watterson, a school friend of P.C. Bone, paid tribute to her caring heart, saying she was all about people and the community. So I think she'll be a huge loss, not just to her family, but to the community which she served. Another friend, Brian James Boyle, described her as very lovable, a friendly person who never had a bad word to say about anyone and loved her job 100%, which was a real thrill for her. Fiona left behind her partner Claire, Claire's daughter Jessie, whom she embraced as her own, Mother June, Father Paul, and Sister Vicky. Now a little bit about the town, Mottram Hattersley, Greater Manchester. The shooting occurred at a house in Abbey Gardens, Hattersley, in the Tameside district of Greater Manchester. This is a housing estate located approximately 1.5 miles east of Hyde, 4 miles west of Glossop, and 10 miles east of Manchester city centre, at the eastern terminus of the M67 motorway. The estate is situated in the village of Mottram. Hattersley was developed as a large overspill estate by Manchester City Council from the 1960s onwards. At the beginning of the 1960s, most of the area was purchased to build housing for families rehoused from inner-city slum areas like Gorton. The estate consists primarily of council houses and had a population of 6,960 at the 2021 census, up from 5,348 in 2011. The 2021 census showed Hattersley's population was predominantly white, 92%, with 28.2% of residents under 18 years old. Historically, the area has faced socioeconomic challenges, with Hattersley's identified as one of the most disadvantaged community in Tameside, where problems with health, unemployment, low educational attainment, and crime are disproportionately higher than elsewhere in the borough. Tameside is a metropolitan borough of Greater Manchester with a population of 220,241 as of mid-2012. The larger Greater Manchester area had been experiencing significant reductions in crime leading up to 2012. Between 2002 and 2012, total recorded crime in Greater Manchester dropped from 383,074 to 207,687, a 46% reduction. Between April 2011 and March 2012, there was a 9% drop in total crime, meaning almost 20,000 fewer victims. Violent crime statistics showed improvement as well. In 2011-2012, Manchester Local Authority had both the highest number of violent crimes against the person, 10,323, and the highest rate per 1,000 population, 20.7 in Greater Manchester. However, assault and tendencies at Greater Manchester emergency departments decreased by 22% between 2009 and 2010 and 2013-2014, falling from 16,413 to 12,875 attendances. Despite these overall improvements, the area had been dealing with ongoing gang violence and feuds between criminal families, conflicts that would ultimately lead to the murders of P.C. Hughes and P.C. Bone. Now a little bit about the killer, Dale Cregan. He was born on June 6, 1983, at Tameside General Hospital to Anita Marie Cregan and Paul Cregan, a tool setter from Manchester. He was one of 3 siblings, with an older brother, Dean, born 2 years earlier, and a younger sister. His father eventually left the family and married a former policewoman with Greater Manchester Police. Cregan attended the now-defunct Little Moss High School in Greater Manchester. From an early age, he became involved in criminal activity, beginning as a teenager as a marijuana dealer, and by the age 22 had graduated to dealing hard drugs like cocaine. He also developed an unhealthy obsession with knives. Cregan was known and feared throughout Tameside area long before he became notorious as a police killer. A resident of the area, who asked to remain anonymous, said Cregan made it obvious that he was ready and willing to openly use violence to get his own way and ran things in Tameside, walking around making people feel uncomfortable and staring at people. According to court testimony, Cregan was a ruthless and intimidating lead player in the criminal underworld. He had one distinctive physical feature that made him instantly recognizable. He had only one eye. The circumstances surrounding the loss of his left eye remain unclear. Cregan claimed to have lost it in a brawl in Thailand, although some authorities speculate it may have been removed with a knife under unknown circumstances. This distinctive one-eye appearance would make him easily identifiable during a massive manhunt that followed his crimes. The events that led to the murders of P.C. Hughes and P.C. Bone began with a long-running bitter feud between criminal families in Greater Manchester. Cregan was a close friend and associate of the Atkinson family, particularly Leon Atkinson, while the Short family represented a rival faction. The catalyst came on the night of May 10, 2012, at a pub in Greater Manchester where Teresa Atkinson, matriarch of the Atkinson family, was celebrating a football victory. When Raymond Young, a member of the Short family, hit her, she retaliated by slapping him. Infuriated, Atkinson texted her son Leon demanding revenge on the Short family. When Leon Atkinson alerted Cregan to what had happened, Cregan wanted to get involved himself. 2 weeks later, on May 25, 2012, Cregan gathered his gun, wearing a balaclava, burst into the Cotton Tree Pub Club where 23-year-old Mark Short was having a drink. Cregan intended to kill both Mark and his father David, but David happened to be in the bathroom at the time of the shooting. At approximately 11:40 p.m., Cregan opened fire with a Glock self-loading pistol. Mark Short, an amateur boxer and father of one, was shot multiple times and died at the scene in his father's arms. 3 other men, John Collins, Michael Belcher, and Ryan Pritting, were also shot and injured. Cregan, along with Luke Livesey and Damian Gorman, also known as Scarface, fled the scene. After the murder of his son, David Short wanted revenge and made threats against Cregan. According to psychiatrist testimony at trial, David Short threatened to rape Cregan's son and set him on fire, telling Cregan the gloves are off. Cregan later told the psychiatrist, after I killed Mark Short, he said he would rape my son. He said he would set him on fire. I couldn't get him out of my head. I thought if I kill him, maybe I will get arrested. Greater Manchester Police issued David Short 3 threats to life warnings, believing his life was in danger. The force gave out 130 such warnings in 2012 and the same number in 2011, more than the Metropolitan Police. Despite these warnings, Cregan was determined to eliminate Short to prevent retaliation. In the weeks following Mark Short's murder, Cregan was arrested and released on bail pending further inquiries. He then went into hiding, becoming Manchester's most wanted man. Police offered a £50,000, approximately $80,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. On August 10, 2012, at approximately 7:20 p.m., Cregan and accomplice Anthony Wilkinson emerged from a van parked outside David Short's home in Clayton, Manchester. They chased the 46-year-old father through the house, shooting him at least 9 times with 2 separate firearms. A Glock pistol, the same one later used to murder the police officers, and a second gun fired by Wilkinson. As David Short lay dying on the ground, Cregan threw an M75 hand grenade onto his body, causing dreadful injuries. 10 minutes later, a second grenade was thrown at another house in nearby Luke Road, though no one was hurt. The grenade became Cregan's grim calling card. After murdering David Short, both Cregan and Wilkinson went on the run, becoming the most wanted fugitives in the country. Wilkinson gave himself up to police first. Cregan remained at large, evading a massive manhunt that represented the biggest operation in Greater Manchester police history. Now, the timeline of the ambush. This is September 8, 2012 in the morning. At some point before 10:52 a.m., Dale Cregan, or an accomplice, made a 999 emergency call to Greater Manchester Police, reporting a burglary at a house on Abbey Gardens in Hattersley, Montreal. The caller told police operators that someone had thrown a concrete slab through the back window of the house and run off. The call was a complete fabrication, a deadly trap designed to lure police officers to the location. At 10:52 a.m., PC Nicola Hughes and PC Fiona Bone, both unarmed and on routine patrol, were dispatched to investigate what appeared to be a routine burglary report. The 2 officers had no reason to suspect danger. They arrived at the address in a marked police car and approached the house. As the 2 unsuspecting officers reached the front garden of the house, Cregan, who had been lying in wait inside, opened the front door. He was armed with a Glock pistol equipped with an extended magazine that was fully loaded with ammunition. Between 10:52 and 10:53 p.m., Cregan immediately opened fire on the two officers. The attack was swift, brutal, and devastating. Cregan fired 32 gunshots in just 31 seconds, emptying his entire magazine. P.C. Hughes tried to run but was hit in the back below her body armor. She was immediately paralyzed and fell forward onto the path. Bone, who was trapped in the front garden, attempted to defend herself by drawing her taser stun gun and firing it at Cregan. Despite her brave efforts, she fell as Cregan fired a total of 24 bullets at her. Cregan then turned back to P.C. Hughes and shot her in the head with his last bullet. After emptying his pistol, Cregan threw an M75 hand grenade toward the officers, his signature calling card. He then discarded the pistol and fled the scene. Only 31 seconds elapsed between P.C. Hughes switching off the police car engine and P.C. Bone firing the taser. Such was the horrifying speed of the attack. Detective Superintendent Simon Barclow later stated he discharged 32 rounds of ammunition. These were all the bullets he had. P.C. Fiona Bone, age 32, was pronounced dead at the scene. P.C. Nicola Hughes, 23, was badly wounded and later died in hospital. One witness told the Manchester Evening Herald how she saw Cregan minutes after the shooting just walking about as any normal person would do. Witnesses reported hearing more than a dozen shots and an explosion. At approximately 12 p.m., in an act of shocked investigators, Dale Cregan walked into Hyde Police Station in Tameside and calmly surrendered himself to authorities. Security footage captured him ambling into the station, appearing unmoved by the terror he just unleashed. Cregan casually confessed to the murders, telling an officer, "I dropped the gun at the scene and I murdered 2 police officers. You were hounding my family, so I took it out on you." He later added that he was sorry about those 2 that had been killed. "I wish it was men." Detective Superintendent Barclow described Cregan's demeanor as showing no hint of real remorse or compassion for the victims. The cold-blooded nature of his surrender and his casual confession demonstrated the calculated and ruthless nature of his crimes. The gun Cregan used to murder the officers, Richard's stolen service weapon in the Lakewood case, had a parallel here, was the same Glock pistol he had used to murder David Short. The weapon was recovered from the crime scene. Following Cregan's surrender, Greater Manchester Police launched a comprehensive investigation into those who had assisted him while he was on the run. Within days, authorities arrested 6 people accused of helping Cregan evade capture after he murdered David Short. 2 people, 1 male and 1 female, who were believed to be in the house from where the bogus 999 call was made, were taken into custody for questioning. The investigation revealed an extensive network of individuals who had provided various forms of assistance to Cregan during his time as a fugitive. Dale Cregan's trial began at Preston Crown Court and lasted 19 weeks. Initially, Cregan pleaded not guilty to all charges. However, in the second week of the trial, on February 11, 2013, Cregan changed his plea to guilty for the murders of P.C. Nicola Hughes and P.C. Fiona Bone. He maintained his not guilty plea for the murders of Mark and David Short. The jury heard disturbing details of Cregan's bloody conclusion to his alleged string of attacks. Prosecutor Nicholas Clark, QC, described how Cregan told police, "I'll be waiting," as he lured the unarmed and unsuspecting officers with a bogus 999 call. Later in the trial, Cregan also changed his plea to guilty for the murders of David and Mark Short, as well as 3 counts of attempted murder related to Cotton Tree pub shooting. He was cleared of 1 charge of attempted murder of Sharon Hark. On June 13th, 2013 was the sentencing, and he was sentenced at Preston Crown Court. The judge passed a whole life sentence, meaning Cregan would spend the rest of his life in jail without the possibility of parole. This is the most severe sentence available in the UK justice system. In his sentencing remarks, the judge stated that Cregan had a cold-blooded and ruthless determination to end the lives of PC's Bone and Hughes. "You acted with premeditation, savagery, and drew those 2 officers into a calculated trap to kill them," the judge said. The judge spoke of the horror of bodies being disfigured by the exploding of a hand grenade and described the killings as an act of premeditated savagery. He noted that Cregan had pursued them with a cold-blooded determination to end their lives. Regarding Cregan's guilty pleas, the judge acknowledged them but noted they provided minimal mitigation for 2 reasons. First, because I have no doubt that your guilty pleas were cynically timed to suit your own purposes and did not reflect any regret for what you have done. Secondly, because in your case, the overall sentence which must be imposed is dictated by the exceptional seriousness of your crimes. The judge found no hint of real remorse or compassion for the victims. As of 2023, Cregan remains one of the just over 70 individuals in the UK serving a whole life sentence. He is currently being held at Ashworth Hospital, a high-security psychiatric facility in Merseyside, the same institution that once housed Moore's murderer Ian Brady. 9 co-accused face various charges, including murder and attempted murder. 5 others were found guilty for their involvement in the Short murders. Anthony Wilkinson, age 38, was convicted of David Short's murder and received a life sentence with a minimum of 35 years after confessing. Leon Atkinson, age 35, was accused of Mark Short's murder. Luke Livesey, age 27, from Hattersley, was accused of Mark Short's murder and convicted. Damien Gorman, age 38, from Glossop, was accused of Mark Short's murder. Other defendants included Ryan Hadfield, Matthew James, Francis Dixon, Jermaine Ward, and Muhammad Ali, facing various charges related to the murders and the assistants. The funeral of PC Nicola Hughes took place at Manchester Cathedral on Wednesday, October 3, 2012. Thousands of people lined Deansgate in Manchester city centre to watch the cortege pass by. The procession was led by 6 mounted officers, and police formed a guard of honor outside the cathedral as officers carried her coffin inside for the service. Her coffin was shrouded with a black police flag and had P.C. Hughes's police hat and gloves placed on top. As the procession went along Deansgate, spontaneous applause came from the crowd, and a number of people threw flowers as the cortege passed. The coffin was led into the cathedral to Peace Jesu, sung by the cathedral choir. The service was attended by her mother Susan, father Brent, stepmother Natalie, brother Samuel, and his partner and Nicola's boyfriend Gareth. Chief Constable Sir Peter Fahey paid tribute, saying P.C. Hughes had a promising career ahead of her, but was not driven by personal ambition but by service to the public in need. He added, "It's abhorrent that she met her death through an evil and dark act. She will be greatly missed by everyone who knew her. We will never forget her great sacrifice." Poems and Bible readings were given by some of her colleagues, and Sergeant Stephen Miskell paid tribute during the service. Nicola, with only 3 years' service, was already greatly respected and loved by her colleagues, who would variously describe her as being friendly, full of life, and always willing to give a helping hand, as keen as mustard, as brave as they come, and the chatterbox who always kept everyone else awake. P.C. Fiona Boyd's funeral took place October 4th, 2012, following day, at Manchester Cathedral. Once again, hundreds of police officers and members of the public lined the streets of Manchester as the cortege went past, paying their respects. Chief Constable Peter Fahey addressed the service and paid tribute to her, describing her dedication to the community she served. The outpouring of grief and support was overwhelming. He said of P.C. Hughes and Bones as exemplified the very best of British policing. One of the thousands who turned out to watch P.C. Hughes's cortege was Beryl Cowan, a street pastor who had met her early one morning when she was on patrol. "We asked her if she enjoyed the job, and she said, 'I love every minute of it,'" Cowan recalled. "She had a wonderful smile. She was really happy, and what she did, and what was a real tragedy what happened." On September 9, 2012, the day after the murders, Greater Manchester Police held a moment of silence at 11 a.m. in remembrance. The Union flag was lowered to half-mast at Greater Manchester Police Headquarters as a mark of respect. On September 24, hundreds of police officers and members of the public held a vigil, marching to the scene where the officers were murdered 1 week prior. Church services were held on September 22, 2012, to remember the fallen officers. The family of P.C. Hughes released a statement thanking the public and police for their overwhelming support, saying it would have made P.C. Hughes immensely proud. The murders of P.C. Hughes and P.C. Bone inevitably reignited the long-running debate in the United Kingdom over whether police officers should be routinely armed. Unlike police in most countries around the world, including the U.S., the overwhelming majority of Britain's 150,000 police officers do not regularly carry firearms. Each force has special armed units, and some officers carry electric tasers, stun guns, but routine arming remains exceptional. The brother of P.C. David Rathband, who was shot and blinded by gunman Raoul Moat and later committed suicide, said all police should be allowed to carry guns. Darren Rathband told the media David was certainly confident and competent enough to carry a firearm if he was authorized to do so. He had no reservation in being armed. Unfortunately, the reservation comes from senior management, some general patrols, and probably government. However, senior police officers warned against a rush to arm all officers. Greater Manchester Police Chief Fahey said his force believed passionately that police should remain largely unarmed despite the tragic loss of two colleagues. Sue Hugh-Ord, president of the Association of Chief Police Officers, backed that view, saying, "Guns don't necessarily solve the problem. You only have to look at the American experience. Many colleagues in America are lost without even drawing their gun at close range." Sir Hugh emphasized that it was a clear view of the British police service from top to bottom that officers prefer being unarmed, adding, "It was just a harsh fact of policing, and tragically on occasion things go horribly wrong." The debate highlighted fundamental questions about policing philosophy, public safety, and the relationship between police and communities in Britain. Ultimately, British police forces maintained their commitment to unarmed patrol as a core principle of policing by consent. The deaths of P.C. Hughes and P.C. Bone represented the biggest single loss for on-duty British police officers in almost 50 years, since 3 detectives were gunned down in West London in 1966. According to the National Memorial Day organization, more than 4,000 police officers have been killed in the line of duty since 1792, when the first salaried constables went on duty. The organization stated that 256 officers, including P.C. Bone and P.C. Hughes, have been shot since 1945. However, statistics from the Police Roll of Honor Trust reveal that violent crime represents a relatively rare cause of death for British police officers compared to other nations. Of the 56 serving British police officers who died between 2008 and 2014, only 3 were killed in the line of duty as a direct result of violent crime. Andrew Duncan in 2013, run over by a suspect's vehicle, and Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone in 2012. The most common causes of police officer deaths in UK during this period were traffic accidents, particularly while off-duty, accounting for 27 of 56 deaths, health issues such as heart attacks and brain hemorrhages, 11 deaths, and on-duty vehicle crashes, 9 deaths. This stands in stark contrast to the United States, where FBI figures show that 544 law enforcement officers were killed in the decade to 2012. The psychological impact of the murders extended far beyond the immediate victims. One police officer who discovered the bodies of his 2 colleagues at the scene later hanged himself after plunging into depression. The discovery of such a horrific crime scene left lasting trauma on first responders and investigating officers. The families of both officers have spoken about how there is no moving on from such a loss. On the 10th anniversary in 2022, Bryn Hughes says, "As a family, there's no moving on. But I don't think you want to move on." Paul Bone added, "A hole in your heart is there. You can never actually fill it, but you sort of get used to it. You always miss her." Both fathers have channeled their grief into ensuring their daughters are never forgotten and that their sacrifice is recognized. A memorial garden was established at Hyde Police Station in honor of P.C. Nicola Hughes and P.C. Fiona Bone. Every year on September 18th, the anniversary of their deaths, a memorial service is held at the garden. The service includes a minute of silence at 10:53 a.m., the time the officers were murdered, followed by the laying of wreaths by the family and Greater Manchester Police's Tameside District Commander. In 2022, on the 10th anniversary of the murders, Chief Superintendent Phil Davies said, "Although 10 years have passed since the officers' deaths, the emotion and grief is still felt on the anniversary such as this, and remind us of the dangerous situations officers face on a daily basis. On Sunday, we will come together with Nicola and Fiona's families and honored guests to reflect on the passing of a decade since they made the ultimate sacrifice for the oath they took as police officers." In March 2014, Bryn Hughes established the P.C. Nicola Hughes Memorial Fund, a charity dedicated to helping children who have lost a parent through violent crime. The aims of the charity are to provide learning opportunities and pre-employment skills in the form of support through grants or services to children under 21 who have suffered the tragic loss of a close family member through murder or manslaughter. Bryn explained his motivation. "We have seen firsthand the devastating effect this has had on people and how we as adults cope in the aftermath. It's difficult to how children cope. We would like to help them to try and rebuild their lives and look towards the future, to be able to stand on their own feet by continuing with education where financial situations may have changed or to start that course which will enable them to gain employment. To raise the funds for the charity, Breen completed the North Pole Marathon in April 2014. He has continued to participate in major fundraising events, including running in the New York Marathon in November 2024 to raise funds for trauma counseling for children and a new outdoor space at the Police Treatment Center in Harrogate. The most significant and lasting legacy of the murders has been the creation of the Elizabeth Emblem, a posthumous award for public servants killed in the line of duty. Bryn Hughes and Paul Bone led a years-long campaign for such recognition, arguing that emergency service workers who make the ultimate sacrifice deserve official acknowledgement comparable to that given to military personnel. The Elizabeth Cross Medal, first awarded in 2009, is given to relatives of members of the armed forces killed in action since World War II or as a result of a terrorist attack. Hughes and Bones campaigned for a similar award for police officers, firefighters, and other public servants. In 2022, Hughes told the Police Federation's annual conference, "Next conference, I want to be wearing a medal in Nicola's memory." He expressed surprise at the brevity of the Home Secretary Priti Patel's mention of such an award during her speech, saying, "It would have been nice if Home Secretary would have acknowledged the bravery and potential sacrifices these police officers make on a daily basis." The campaign, which used the hashtag Medals for Heroes, finally succeeded in 2024. On December 9, 2024, King Charles III presented the first Elizabeth emblems at Windsor Castle for the families of 38 men and women who were firefighters, police officers, and other public servants killed in the line of duty. Bryn Hughes and Paul Bone both received the emblem from the king during this historic first presentation. Following the ceremony, Mr. Hughes said, "We can't change what's happened, but I think we can remember them and honor them in this way, and that's quite an efficient tribute. Quite rightly so as well. It's been a long, arduous campaign, but it's been worthwhile in the end to see so many families here today receiving it after so many years. It's been quite a poignant, quite an emotional at times." Mr. Bone added, "It's nice to be at the end of the process and to get recognition finally from the state for people who have lost their lives." The Elizabeth emblem is inscribed with "For a life given in service" and features a rosemary wreath, a traditional symbol of remembrance surrounding the Tudor crown. The name of the person being honored is inscribed in the reverse, and the emblem includes a pin to allow it to be worn on clothing by the next of kin. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has stated, "We must never forget those who have given their lives to protect others in the line of duty. While we will never be able to replace their loved ones, the Elizabeth emblem pays tribute to the sacrifice they have made." PC Fiona Bone's father, Paul, reflected on the importance of the continuing after such a tragedy. "Policing can't stop. The really brave people were the police that went out on duty that day after they knew people were shooting at people. The real heroes are the police that continued to work." The murders fundamentally changed how UK law enforcement agencies approach risk assessment for emergency calls, particularly in areas with gang-related activity. It prompted a comprehensive review of procedures for responding to unknown risk calls and led to an increased emphasis on officer safety protocols. The case also serves as a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in policing, even in a country where most officers remain unarmed. As Chief Constable Sir Peter Faisley stated, "Day in, day out, police officers go about their duty, go into dangerous situations, unexpected situations, and show great bravery, great courage, and are with people at the very worst moment of their lives. This is exactly what those two officers were doing." Hughes and Bone left behind devastated families whose lives were forever changed on September 18, 2012. Nicola left her mother Susan, father Bryn, stepmother Natalie, and younger brother Sam, and boyfriend Gareth. Fiona left her partner Claire, her daughter Jessie, her mother June, father Paul, and sister Vicky. The ripple effects extended far beyond the immediate family. Fellow officers lost trusted colleagues and friends. The community of Greater Manchester lost two dedicated public servants who had chosen careers devoted to helping others. And the nation lost two young women who exemplified the very best of British policing: courage, compassion, and unwavering commitment to service. Their deaths exposed the brutal reality of gang warfare and the willingness of career criminals like Dale Creevigan to target police officers with premeditated savagery. The case revealed how a violent feud between criminal families, rooted in petty disputes, could escalate into a killing spree that claimed 4 lives in just 4 months. The PC Nicola Hughes Memorial Fund continues to help children cope with the aftermath of violent crime. The Elizabeth emblem ensures that sacrifice of emergency service workers is officially recognized for generations to come. And the annual memorial service keeps alive the memory of two officers who answered a call for help and walked into a trap from which they would never return. So we can see here that a lot of protocols happen only after somebody dies on the job. So you have somebody, and we can see a pattern here that often these are premeditated attacks. We can also see that there's a lot of people who help a criminal do this. And when we think about that, we have people who go along with something, although they have no gain and everything to lose. And yet they go along with it anyway. So that's this episode this week. I hope I've given you something to ponder. Next week, we will be doing another case. If you liked what you hear, comment, share, like, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next week.